all day, every day.
If I ever get out of this house alive, gonna set the whole goddamn place on fire. Forget about the past, the future won't last. Pretend that these stones were not meant to be thrown. If I ever get wise without putting in time, never have the fear of being alive. Forget about the past, the future won't last. Pretend that these stones were not meant to be thrown. If I ever get out of this house alive, gonna set the whole goddamn place on fire.
Woo! Tuesday. I don't know how Caribou does the whole intro, and as you might know, we're missing him tonight. But we have Dan from Microppose. We've got the G-Bays. We got High and Tight, and we got a show. So let's do this, y'all.
Cheers. Good evening, everybody. How is everybody doing?
Cheers, everyone.
Good. How's everybody
Yeah.
else doing?
Excellent. Man, it's super stoked. Yeah, go ahead, G-Bay.
So I put on my mushroom shirt,
Oh, that's the good
What do you
mushroom
have on
shirt,
right
too.
now?
the mushroom harvester.
Oh, nice.
The back is better.
And it's
So
got a big, I don't know what it says. It's a big mushroom on the back.
I feel naked.
Oh, that's sick. I like that. See, I like the simple graphics. I don't really like a lot of color in my graphics. I'm kind of more of a simple logo guy. So yeah, that looks sweet. I like that.
Right there with you. Like a spore print itself is just a perfect piece of art, right? Very little
Right.
color and just the right amount of contour.
It doesn't need any help, man. It
No,
really
it doesn't. It doesn't. Speaking of mushroom cultivation, so I guess for anybody who doesn't know, this is Mr.
How
Dan
about
from
you introduce yourself?
Microppose. Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. Let's have you introduce yourself. Let's talk all about you.
So, my name's Dan from Microppose. I founded a company in 2019, and I specialize in making products for helping people grow mushrooms. So I make filters and injection ports and tub filters and tubs and all the accessories that go with that. So that's pretty much what I've made my life around for the past 4 or 5 years now.
And by experience, I can say quite quality products for mushroom cultivation also. So I've
Nice.
had really good experience. I'm loving the filters. Yeah, I've been putting those little 3 mil filter discs on freaking everything that need a little bit of filter. And you know, if it's got a hole in it and I don't want something in it, I'm like, bam! I slap a filter disc on that shit. So
Nice.
I was
Hell yeah.
What's up, Obi? Cheers, Kingfisher.
But,
yeah,
go ahead, man.
I've actually myself personally have purchased some of the filters, self-injection ports. I made my own grain bags and brought them over to boot camp. With
Nice.
Microppose injection healing ports, and then that's when Fluff was able to inject some bags. But
Yeah, when I first came out with those, I wasn't sure they were even going to work for bags. So they were originally coming out for the jar guys.
mhm.
And then, you know, it's so awesome that the community comes with me with like self-made content. And they're like, hell yeah, we used them on our bags and they actually worked. I'm like, hell yeah, cool. There's another application. So like, you know, sometimes I release something and you know, I kind of advertise it as what I think it should be for. And then people just come out with user generated content. And they're like, yeah, dude, they work for this shit too.
I mean, I was
Yeah, it's pretty
watching
cool.
one of your earlier videos, you know, where you're talking about, you know, not using them so much on like the gray lids, right? And I use but I use the wide mouth gray ones. And you're absolutely right. Cause you always, it's like, if you don't drill that hole exactly right, you're not going to get it on the flat part. And then you've got all the issues. But what I thought was super cool is with the bags, man, you can just stick those things like the bag never even had a port. You just stick one on and boom, inject it. You got a port now. You ain't got no prep. You just stick it right on the bag wherever you want. It's so cool.
Yeah. What's the difference between like a normal grain bag and one that's got an injection port on it? What's the I don't even know the price difference. I haven't researched that or anything. But what's the difference between the two?
Grain bags themselves just don't even have an injection port at all. It's just a bag, mainly for grain to grain inoculation, so you can seal it. But it has a little filter on it, but no injection port.
I thought Unicorn made one. Unicorn does make one. I think that's got some thing on it. I just never checked the price. It's been about a year and a half since I've checked the price.
Well, see, the good part is, right, since you make such a good product that I don't need to check to see if they have one with a filter port on it. I just have I got a pack of your injection ports, so I'm good. I don't need to shop around like that.
Hey, if it works, it works. Hell yeah.
Oh, right? Yeah. Exactly. You know, I was kind of telling these guys this morning, even my pot that I sterilized my substrate in, you know, it's got a little air hole, you know, a vent hole right on top. Well, sometimes I don't always get to, you know, get into my substrate right away, and I don't like that port being open, so I actually put one of your filter patches over that port, so I still have the benefits of having the vent there, but I can leave it there without all the stuff getting back in through that open hole. So I've been finding all kinds of cool uses for them, man.
Oh, there it is.
This is actually one of the bags from Booth Camp.
Okay, nice.
All I did was after I ended up sterilizing it inside the pressure cooker, smack one of these on there, wipe it down with alcohol.
Yeah. And do you autoclave with it on there, or do you autoclave and then you take the bag out and then you put it on there?
Afterwards. I put that little thing on afterwards.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing both. It seems like it's just kind of user preference, but I've heard of both methods. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm glad they work on bags. That kind of tackles a problem from a pretty well, because it's not a lot of people use jars. I mean, it's kind of like a very diehard select few people that use jars. So I'm happy it has a wider application. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really, I felt like bags were more in the majority. You find
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I originally came out with it for jars, but I'm just happy that it had the wider application. I didn't know it was going to stick to the, the soft polypropylene is a little harder to stick things to. So I'm happy it had the strength to do it.
Yeah, after it came out of the pressure cooker, it's basically like all solid. It wasn't going anywhere. So just wiping it down with a little alcohol swab, dry it off, and then just stick it on there. And then that's really no issues whatsoever about it just falling off or not any part of it not sticking off or peeling off.
Yeah.
So it did multi-purpose use, man, on multi-surfaces. So great work.
Nice. So, what do you got going on over there? What's your genetic preference? What do you got in that bag?
What do we got in this bag, Mr. Fluff's garden?
Oh, those are hillbilly pumpkins.
Oh, I love them. So there's a lot of like short, like poppy looking varieties, like the poppy pod where it's like real short with the tiny caps.
Man, I want it so hard. So I got this culture from a good friend of ours, a lobster in the community. And when I first saw his tub, dude, they were the squats. They were super fat with that little pin head on them. And I fell in love with them. I was like, dude, I have got to have that. And so he sent some cultures, and all of mine have grown out nice and long, beautiful, huge, wonderful mushrooms. But I haven't got any squats yet. I got to figure out my technique to get them squat.
Oh, okay. So it's not simply genetics. Like there's some environmental play involved to get them to keep squat.
I think there must be, because these were the same ones that I saw that at least I thought they're the same ones that he was getting those squats out of. So
yeah,
I'm hoping.
Well, maybe they don't like the fresh air. Maybe they like to be choked, Daddy. You never know.
Yeah. And you know what? We definitely We definitely keep them probably a little more on the aerated side. So that very well could be. Maybe I need to keep that humidity up a little higher. Probably the
Yeah.
temperatures too. We don't regulate temperatures here. So
Yeah,
they
I noticed you get a lot of interesting morphs when you kind of fuck around with the fresh air, or you kind of you tone down the fresh air. Even you'll get a completely. You can have the same genetic. You can run the same. You can run two tubs with the same exact clone specimen, and then get two completely different outcomes, with one being choked of air and then one having more fresh air. So that might be the case. You never know.
Ah, I was even wondering on just general moisture content in the cake from where it started to, because I just recently had one that we did super wet, not super wet, but definitely far more hydrated than we normally put in.
Right,
And
right.
while we didn't get as big a fruit, we got more in weight with smaller, perfect little, bigger, kind of just a more even canopy, I guess is the way you would say it. So
And did you achieve more flushes, would you say? Because I notice if you really hydrate your cake, you might get more flushes that are performing decent.
it was so hard to harvest that flush. We tore that cake up pretty bad. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
didn't get much out of a second.
Yeah,
Ooh,
So
she's pretty
I got a
wrecked.
question about harvesting your flush. Now, would you recommend doing the whole twist and pull, or getting like a X-Acto blade to cut the bottom?
So let me give you some background.
Yeah,
So
sure,
I
please.
caught a case back in 2015, and I did a bit of a stint there. So I haven't grown in 7 years, 8 years. It's been a long time.
Mhm.
And since then, there's been a lot of really good techs and a lot of systems that come into play with how to harvest and what parameters to grow. I never got a chance to compare twist off and a cut, and I've seen both, and both of them are pretty killer.
Yeah.
Personally, I always found it easier to twist off, but I'm not sure if that fucked up my second flush or not. I don't know. It's been a while for me, so I can't really say anything to that.
Yeah, I understand.
So I feel like when you cut, you take up a lot of surface area that would be used for fruiting. But then the argument to that is if you twist off, you're damaging the surface, which would be otherwise used for fruiting too. So it's
Yeah,
like I don't really know which one to follow,
yeah.
But
Which one has
yeah,
more
I
of
would have
a
to go to the Instagram college to figure that one out.
good old IG University?
Yep,
YU
yep, yep.
YouTube University.
Yep. There's a
there's
lot
a
of great people on YouTube.
So yeah, I've seen a couple cool ones, and I think the next time I harvest, when I get a really good tub like that, I think ours is always that fear of contamination, right? You've got that cake, you don't want to fuck it up.
Yep.
And I keep kind of watching all these people, and I'm like, man, I've seen so many people just handle their cakes. They throw stuff on it to weigh them down when they go to rehydrate them, and so I've seen one guy. He's got a real long, nice bread knife. He takes his cake out, he puts it on a stand, and he just shaves it right at the top. Takes it all
Yeah.
off. Everything's super clean. That's the way we're going with our next one, I think, because it looks like the optimum way to do it. You can
Yeah.
really get down close to that substrate, so you're not leaving a whole lot behind. The mycelium can easily take it back in. And I mean, if you're rehydrating that cake and doing all that to kind of weigh it down and get it all dirty anyway, I'm kind of sterilely trying to do, I'm working as clean as I can to make that harvest anyway. So it makes
So
sense to just
what's the consensus here? Do you guys are you guys cutters or are you guys twisters? I mean, what's everybody
we
doing?
we cut here. We cut them
All
off here.
you guys cut.
It's been so long, but I did twisting the last time. I'm not gonna lie, because my X-Acto knife, when I was doing the whole little, I charred it.
Yeah,
And
you got to have a fucking big nice kitchen knife. Get yourself a Henkel's or something and slice that shit out.
Bro, Ginsu. It's the optimum one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
What's up,
yeah, that's actually there was another one. How about you, CVG? I make CVG. Someone was asking about a recipe. What do you guys do for your recipes for substrates and stuff like that? Um,
So I haven't. I got out of the substrate game a while ago, but honestly, most of the time, it's the grain that feeds your nutrients. It's not really the substrate that's nutritive. And some people use manures that might add a little bit. As far as like cost effectiveness, I've seen no problem with CVG, because when you mix it with CVG, the quar and the verm and gypsum, they give you like a platform to grow on, but it's not really that they're deriving much nutrients from that. It's the grain that they're deriving the nutrients from. Quar is not a very nutritive substrate. Manures, I imagine, adds, some organic material and some nitrogen and stuff like that. You might get better yields, but I don't know, it's a give and take. I've seen no problems with CVG as far as production goes. If people are trying to grow a lot and market it or something like that, CVG is fine. I find it easier to handle because quar just doesn't like to get contaminated as long as you're reasonably handling your systems. So I don't know. I've always kind of liked CVG. It's what I ran with. So.
Yeah, I just find it super easy. It's easy to make. It's easy to handle. It's easy to store. If you've got too much,
Right.
the whole thing is just, and like you said, for what it is, it's basically just your base for your microclimate, for your mycelium to start fruiting and make its base. It's water basically. It's your water holding capacity.
Yeah,
So,
it's like planting a mushroom on a sponge. It just, and the other thing is it's so readily available. You can go to any pet shop and get really clean quar from Eco Earth or whoever else. Even some hydroponic shops carry some pretty clean stuff. So
here's a good one, and we can kind of bring this into some of your products as well too, because they do take the high heat. When you go to do your substrates and things, sterilize or pasteurize your substrate. Which one?
Man, so this is kind of a tough one. So there's a lot of different parameters with different kinds of substrates. When I personally produced CVG, I sterilized it. And the reason is because coco coir seems to be, and I don't want to like speak for everyone else, but for me, it seemed to be more resilient to contamination. And so you could sterilize it and get rid of everything. But since manure may be more accepting to contaminants, it might actually flourish contaminants a little bit easier. Some people say that some of the beneficial bacterias or something in there, and I don't know how true this is, that if you pasteurize it, it's less likely to get taken over with something that's nasty as long as you have a decent grain ratio to colonize it faster. So
yeah, it's kind of like a soil science mindset.
Yeah, I generally sterilize with CVG. But as far as the technical side of like what's better, I think it's really substrate dependent, and I couldn't tell you which particular things are better or not. But I would say CVG is safe, and you can sterilize it. You got a decent grain ratio. You're not going to get contaminants. It's pretty resilient.
So with that, like I was saying earlier, I put one of your patches right on a piece of glass, for the lid of my pot, so I had a nice vent. I have sent them through my pressure cooker. For multiple rounds now. They've been on and been holding strong and beautiful. The filter patches aren't even freaking dirty. Like they're still just as white as the day I put them on. And I mean, that says a lot right there. I love the fact that, they're hydrophobic. That's awesome. It seems to be such a big game changer. So what is like is there any point when you're like, they should be good in an autoclave, they should be good in any kind of sterilization or pasteurization process?
Right. So there's a couple things that I want to address. One is like when to replace them. And the other thing is like I've also heard that people prefer 0.22 microns, and they're wondering if 0.3 is enough, which is what my filters are rated. So let me address the micron rating and the flow rate, I suppose. So you're all familiar with the traditional flow hood. So who actually has a flow hood? Any of you guys have a flow hood or anything like that? I have
been researching very heavily, and yes, microns have been the biggest pain in my ass lately, and flow rates and.
Yeah. Okay. So a flow hood is essentially a 0.3 micron filter that uses forced air to blow out sterile air. And under forced pressure, they're rated at about 99.95 or above filtration efficiency to take out spores and contaminants, right? So my filters are rated at the same 99.95% filtration efficiency, but it only works at atmospheric pressure because you're not forcing air through it. So when people say that 0.2 microns is more favorable to 0.3 or 0.22 is more favorable to pull to 0.3, they have to consider that their flow hood is forcing air through with that fan. And anything that works under pressure is obviously going to have it's going to have a little more margin for error. So when you're working with forced air, more things are going to come through the filter. But since we're not forcing air through a jar lid filter, it's just staying stationary. I would argue that it even has better filtration ratings than a flow hood because there's no forced air. It's just stagnant there. There's no air being forced out of the jar or into the jar. So that's the first thing.
No, that makes a
I
lot of
like
sense.
that.
Right.
And
So
on top of that, being hydrophobic, right? With just
Right.
that, the other layer is the water is gonna, soaking through there is gonna be the other layer for contaminate or vector for contamination, right?
Right. And I don't know if you've seen it work as hydrophobic as it is, but you can drop a water droplet on top of it and it just floats. It doesn't absorb in. It just sits on the top. So, but
I got a
the
little
replacement,
aggressive shaking a LC one day and was very, very happy with how much was not coming out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The other thing is replacement. So people wonder, and they ask me all the time, and I need to start making more social media content about the specifics of my stuff. And I hate using the excuse that it's hard to find time, but I need to just find the time to do it. But they're good until, I don't want to say you want to wait until there's fraying on the material, but there is a shelf life to adhesive. If you cook it 5 or 6 times, you're working that adhesive out. You're giving it steam, you're giving it heat, and all of the things that adhesives are not really like. They don't really like to have steam and heat. Those are pretty much the two worst things that you can do to any acrylic-based adhesive. But that adhesive is purpose-built to taking heat and steam. So I would say when you start seeing weakness in the bond of the material, if you ever see your filter curling or anything on the adhesive discoloring, and that's kind of like a personal observation thing, I would switch them out. A lot of the times you can get 5, 6, 7 generations. I've seen people do a dozen generations, and it just depends on your system, how hot you're running and everything like that. But I would say after about 5 generations, I would probably switch them out. But you can still get a few generations for.
yeah, I'm on at least second or third right now with mine, and they look exactly like the day I put them on.
Are you on those gray lids?
Yeah, I'm on those gray lids. Oh, it took a lot of time to really get those things set just freaking right, man.
Yeah, so the only reason that I talk about gray lids sometimes is because obviously it's got the lettering, the recessed lettering in it. So if you stick one of those filters on there, and they're supposed to be on a flat surface to get the best adhesion. If somebody makes a mistake and they put it on the recessed lettering, there's a bond problem, because there might be something that gets in that lettering and makes it peel up. And so I just don't like the reliability of the bond. And the other thing is, have you ever handled like the white lids or the steel lids?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're very smooth. The gray lids tend to have more of a porous surface, which makes it also harder to bond on. So that's the only reason. But there are people that have a lot of success with it if they're careful. They got to know what they're doing.
Yeah, I know we use the wide mouth lids, and there's 2 spots on it very specifically where it fits just freaking perfect. I mean, and you got to be a surgeon to put that son of a bitch on there, but it's
if you hit it right, they're fine. They still work. Oh,
works like a dream. Yeah, I got a bunch of them sitting here because I did that one day because I saw I am really gonna have to be like by where I put them. So I lined up like 2 boxes worth of lids, and I just one day sat there and did them all.
Nice. Your fabricating experience coming to play in your grow world there. That's cool.
Yeah. It definitely helps. It was actually a mistake that I even came out with these things. So I was growing oyster mushrooms for the farmer's market. And I was just sick of using that polyfill shit, the pillow stuffing for a filter. And I was getting, varied results and varied airflows because, you can't really consistently pick the same density. So I kind of made these for myself, and then they sat on a shelf for a couple of years. And then I got the bright idea to sell them, and they took off. So,
well, it's right now. I believe there's a mushroom wave. You would know better than me because I'm not into it. I'm just getting going. But yeah, it seems that that they're coming onto the radar hard right now.
I get asked every day at the dispensary.
Well, I'm up in Canada, so I may be on a different radar than most. But
so what's your guys' opinion on the wave? Do you think a lot of cannabis guys are getting on board, or you think it's kind of like a niche thing where it's kind of slowly emerging, or do you think the cannabis guys are really paying attention?
It's for me, like I'm 42. So back in the day when I was, 18 to 25, maybe that range was my golden zone for chomping down large amounts of mushrooms. Not so much on the medicinal side of things, but more definitely a recreational side, right?
Yeah.
Now I find a lot of my friends are more interested in not getting whacked out on 5 grams and hero dosing, but just getting a good little intake enough to, where you kind of don't feel the buzz, but you're fixing the things on the inside. Yeah. So the cannabis guys are interested. I find, like, for me, I only talk to like the older crowd, so I really don't know what's going on. Like, and she might know better.
It seems like a lot of younger people are really on board, and if so younger demographics seems like they're more into that than they are cannabis. And then I would say between like 25 to 35, 40, I would say is both.
Yeah.
And I'm not too sure about the rest.
Yeah, that seems to be where on the website I can see back-end demographics of interest. And I feel like, like 24 to 36 is a real hot range. So, yeah, it's kind of like not quite guys that are in college. It's like guys that are kind of getting out on their own, finding their career jobs, or are on a little bit of the older end where they've already found their career jobs and they're trying to figure shit out. It's like right at that point where you're like, okay, I'm a man now, or I'm a woman now. Let's figure out our bullshit.
Yeah. And they're more
I hear these work
and things like that, right?
Yeah.
This whole
the microdosing seems to be big.
Microdosing is getting huge, especially for the veteran community, and it's been huge for veterans walk and talk, I believe, on Instagram.
Yeah,
they microdose and then go out and hiking. I believe that's what they do. I think that's the right page. But to your question, as a grower going into mushroom mycology, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, if it works, cool. If it doesn't, I'm just going to try to top dress my beds with it, because either way, the plant's going to be able to take advantage of it.
Right.
So it's a win-win.
So you actually correlate the two grows together. You grow it in the same pot? What do you mean?
I've been experimenting with it with my old contaminated bags that have the trichoderma.
Right.
So the cannabis plant itself is able to uptake it and use it, or not uptake it, but able to use it. So while being able to incorporate it into the top layer of the soil by just throwing in a bunch of grain bags, contaminated bags, mainly into some of the, because I grow in SIP containers, sub-irrigated planters.
Okay.
So they bottom feed. Ideally, if I had a mulch layer, I know Thunder Dan's going to listen to this one day and be like, you didn't talk about your mulch layer, bro. So if I had a mulch layer in my planters, it'd be nice, damp, moist. So having those contaminated grains still could have a chance, because the soil will be able to, like, I guess, use it all. And if there's like one mushroom that pops up, cool.
No, okay, so yeah, it's good, because it's not any more wasted space, and you're kind of making room for that. And the trichoderma doesn't really affect the pot plants too much, does it? It's almost,
they love that.
It's
shit.
benign. Yeah, it's benign. I feel like it's kind of almost beneficial in some way.
It is a benefit into most of the gardens, because it does help kind of it's another vector to help break down nutrients, things like that in the soils.
Right.
That's what I was gonna kind of touch on with you. Was that right? Saying like who might be getting into it grower wise. I think you're looking at like the organic community of the cannabis growers kind of really take the mushrooms and probably looking into kind of incorporating them together. I think they'll be able to do that a little more. I think you'll see that a little more regularly in the future when they're both kind of accepted, because like he says, I can grow them in my bed. I have cocoa. They grow in peat just fine. They'll grow around that as long as they have some nutrition. They can go around. You can get a flush or two out of your bed when you bury a thing. If you keep all of your just like the tub, if you keep your conditions right, you can keep fruit out of there. So I think there's a delicate balance that they're going to have to figure out. But I fully think that you will see them together in like the organic farms indoors. Whether they be just kind of like a bed of mushrooms over here and a bed or a row of cannabis over here, whether it be a CO2 kind of benefit thing, and then they reuse the cakes for the soil or some factor, but I can see how they will be integrated together in the future. But not so much on the super mass produced side, because those salts and things I don't see them getting along well.
Yeah, I maybe, if as long as it's not too far to the pH range, the salts might not affect them too much because it's just minerals. But they do, obviously, with the coir and the peat, those are all mushroom substrate medias. As long as there's enough nutrients that it's not trying to take from the root system of the cannabis, and you can provide some kind of supplementary nutrients, like if you can mix the grain in the soil with the pot plant, and it kind of, they have their own nutrients, but you're using the same surface area, it might be beneficial some way. I don't know. It might be some way to do that. I feel like if somebody experimented with it and had some success, they'd probably find some new way. But I don't see any fundamental reasons why it wouldn't work, except for maybe cleanliness. Because I know a lot of cannabis additives are bioactive. Like you add mycorrhizae and you add sometimes beneficial bacteria in your mixes and stuff like that, and that might create competition just right off from the the watering and the nutrient adds. But
I think the big thing that it'll really come down to is the microclimates that the difference between the mushroom and the cannabis are going to need to be able to keep a productive fruiting atmosphere below a plant up here, at 99% humidity down here, and trying not to rot the plant up here, keeping it in 70%, or so. Yeah, I think that'll kind of be the challenge that they're gonna come to with that, because I can bury a cake in my bed and I can get mushrooms pop up for about a month or two afterwards. Just a one here, one, every time I water, a new mushroom or three or a pop up. But it only lasts for a real short amount of time before you can tell that they're kind of really petered out and I need to get another cake buried inside of there.
Do you think I'm sorry, Fluff, do you think that your living mulch actually takes an effect because of that?
Well, I think the only reason I get the fruits is because of the mulch. Otherwise, it wouldn't have the right microclimate for the mushrooms to pop up.
Or like your living crop, what is it? Cover crop.
I mean, that's part of it. It's not, you would be doing the same if I just had a straw crop, watered it in heavy. Same thing, just making sure you had the microclimate there for the underside of that mulch, whether it be living, whether it be straw or whatever, is still going to be what creates that microclimate.
I'm asking these questions because my high ass is going to rewatch this episode while I'm trying to do all this. I have a contaminated bag, unfortunately, but now that we're actually talking about this now, it is probably going to end up going into one of these beds, these earth boxes.
I feel like the problem that would happen with integrating mushrooms and plants in the same growth is I'm sure you guys have already tried to hydrate a cake, and you know that it doesn't like to drink water externally. It's like once it's depleted of water, it's fucked. So I feel like it would just suck the water out of the, you just kill your weed plant because there's just no water left for them.
So
That's probably the thing I would see. That's probably what it would be, is like if you figured out a way to keep it clean enough to where the mycelium healthily took over the soil, the cocoa coir medium or whatever, there'd just be nothing left for your weed plants. So
Yeah.
So
it might be challenging.
I have a like a 17-gallon tote that I have 2 Thirsty Earth like auto watering terracotta pots in there.
Yeah.
So they already go all the way down to the bottom of the tote. So if they just take over the top layer, if the mycelium just takes over the top layer, that's fine. The rest of the soil will be fine.
It tends to take over anything it fucking comes in contact with. If you can keep it isolated to that top layer, I don't see why it would be a problem. Yeah, it'd probably be fine.
Yeah.
I can say I
It'd be an
buried
interesting
one.
experiment.
I buried one in a nice bed that had a real nice woody kind of build to it. So plenty of barky mulch in there, plenty of just woody stuff that still needed some time to break down. And the second thing I did was bury a cake in there of some hillbillies. So I know when I went to go plant a plant in there, I had to physically break apart all of the white mycelium that was taking over the top of it, because it was like, screw you. They loved the top of that bed. And when I would water it in, you could just see the whole bed. You could see it just starting to turn white everywhere. And so that was super cool. And now I'm starting to wonder if, like you said, that mycelium really likes to take over, and the plants in that specific bed, they're really having these weird moisture issues. And I wonder it's starting to make a lot of sense. So maybe I might have to go in there and tear some stuff up.
You should see how oysters work. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but if you don't give it too much competition, your mycelium will take over everything. And oysters are a great example of that. They'll fight anything. Like it's very difficult to contaminate something that oysters have already taken over. Those are some killers, man.
Actually, our guy,
that's why they're so prolific in the wild. If you look at them in the wild, they grow on shit that's like, you got all this discoloration on a tree trunk, and the oysters are still like, I don't care. Like they're just growing out of it healthily and everything. So yeah, psilocybin is a pretty strong genera. Like it's a pretty strong genus. Like it's not weak by any means, but oysters will just slaughter everything that's in their path.
The guy who's started this actual show, Cariboo, our good friend, he's actually couldn't be here tonight. But when you say oysters, you have to think of his bed. I think that's or his worm bin. He inoculated one of his worm bins with, and I believe it was oyster and lion's mane. But I think the first one that was the worm bin was oyster, and the whole bottom of that son of a bitch is just, it completely got taken over to the point where, right, it evicted the worms. They don't want to be in there anymore. Like it kicked everything out. And the whole bottom of that worm bin is just this beautiful block of mycelium. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's cool.
It took that over and it didn't get contaminated. It just fucking ate everything. It didn't care.
Yeah, I think once he started like screwing with it and taking pictures and being like, oh, look at my big block of mycelium, I think it finally caught some contam. But no, like as a worm bin and him working on it until he figured out the whole bottom was contam. Yeah, that thing was bright white and beautiful. It was crazy.
I wonder if it was taking over the worm castings itself, because
that's exactly what it is. Instead of, it didn't have a nutritive base, right? It didn't have a grain. It didn't have an LC. So the mycelium was feeding on the shit, the fucking worm castings. So,
how you doing?
Yeah, it's super cool.
Did we lose a person down there? I saw you move towards the center.
Me, yeah, barefoot. My wife, she's got to go get the boy in bed. Without supervision, he will Xbox his way into no.
Yeah,
feeling.
Yeah, we got to go do the unplug.
Okay.
She may be back. She may not. It's all good. It's all good.
Over here on the Cariboo Hart TV podcast, there's such a thing called a dab frog, which we're almost past 45 minutes without a dab frog. Comments, I apologize.
I saw that, and that's a remarkable ass on that frog.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
I even got mushrooms inside the
That was
dagger.
this was created by one of the community members, right?
Yes, sir. Yep, that was Buds of Smoking. Dude, we have probably one of the coolest damn communities that you could possibly ask for. Ooh, what you got there?
I'm having myself a glass of Dalwhinnie. You guys, any of you guys Scotch guys?
More of a whiskey guy myself.
Right. So yeah, I like
Dalwhinnie,
whiskey
yeah,
too. So this is a Dalwhinnie. It's one of my favorite scotches. So
yeah, I used to be in food and beverage. I used to manage food and beverage at a Best Western for a while. We did a Scotch nosing for the Rotary Club one year, so we did have some higher end stuff. I don't really remember what it was, but
nice.
It was good times. I'm now a welder.
It's probably a hell of a lot easier. It's the
On
people
the-
aspect.
yeah,
Well, okay,
it is like it's
from a physical standpoint, maybe not, but you know, it seems
When
a
I'm
lot less stressful. Maybe hospitality's rough, dude.
what we say is when the helmet drops, the bullshit stops. So
That's right.
Yeah.
generally, when I'm making sparks, it's like, get the fuck out of here. Get out of my way.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. No, I built a sea can building this last couple weeks. It's like a couple sea cans spaced out with and then you build arches to put over and pull a big tarp over or whatever. That's been crazy. That's been an adventure. But I got questions more based on the mushroom cultivation, not my fabrication skills.
Bring it on.
I bought some because up here in Canada we're limited, right? Up here in Canada, we don't got much going on in ways of shopping. Like we can't in the States. You got a city over here, there. You can go anywhere and get anything. Canada, we can't. So I got BC, where all the hippies are. That's where all the mushrooms are. So I got it just on the internet. Mushrooms, Canada, give me some. Brought me all the way to BC, hundreds of different places, all these different kits and everything. And I got overwhelmed, honestly, to tell you the straight truth, because I'm just learning soil biology on a one step above general knowledge. So I'm not ready to just take on a whole other challenge like that. So I bought this kit kind of thing. And what it was it came as a block that was, I guess, already inoculated or whatever. I had to soak it in water overnight, drain the water off, expand the bag up and clip the top of it. And it's got a little filter. It looked just like the bag High and Tight had, but it wasn't grain. It was a block. It must be a cocoa. It's cocoa for sure. I could see fibers in it. So we'll say it's cocoa. One did nothing for a long, long time. Now it's got two white fuzzy patches on it.
Okay.
The other one looks fucked. That's the best way I can put it. So I don't think it's doing well. It's got it had tan spots on the white, and then some of them I think went gray at the tip, kind of. And it looks almost slimy. The gray part looks more wet.
Were the tan spots clear? Like it was like an amber color, but it was a clear liquid?
Not clear liquid. I don't know. I didn't look and I kept the bag closed. It could have been.
Yeah.
I actually brought the contaminated bag out. This is the one that I'm going to inoculate the bed with.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that is gross. I can't, I can't big screen that. We can't show everybody that.
Is that the green meanie or whatever they call it, the trichoderma stuff?
I don't know, but it's wild because look, there's a little bit of tan spot in there, but it's so moist inside. Is it because it's too wet?
It might be because the trichoderma might be drawing moisture out of the center of the cake and then letting it evaporate from it if it's a porous material. I don't really know how it works, but I noticed that there's a lot more evaporation in there.
So I haven't touched it, but I just wanted to see what would happen if the mycelium would end up suffocating it. It actually started growing over this part right here. There's barely any showing.
Yeah.
It used to be around.
But now, did you make that grain bag yourself, or did you buy it pre-sterilized?
Sterilized it myself.
Yeah, I think that's where most people get into the problem when you got that is it just somewhere in the sterilization process, it just didn't quite get it,
Yeah. So what are your sterilization parameters for your grain bags then? How long you running them?
Hold on. Let me give you a little bit of context again before we get into the sterilization process, y'all. These bags did go to boot camp and were inoculated at boot camp.
So okay, so a bunch of newbies were stabbing it and yeah. Okay.
I did it on a picnic bench out in the fucking wide open outside.
Okay. Yeah. So somebody was coughing on it. It got dropped in the pine cones, and
there was a joint that was probably passed here.
Right. Sure.
And I think that's the only bag that we've had contaminate that I've heard of.
Fair enough. It's not that bad.
This is the only one that's contaminated.
Oh, we had pretty good luck. Yeah, we had pretty good luck. But speaking of, so many fucking things cause contamination in really, really easy ways, right? It just, and that was a thing that I liked about the design of the tub that you made, right? Because one that's very similar has a very fucking stupid drawback. It's got that trap in it where the fucking water just sits. It's just a pool of bacteria and shit just asking to get dropped in your tub. And
the pool on the bottom the pan part. Yeah, the water trap.
Yes, the water trap.
I get it.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, you kind of rectified that with yours.
Right. So I kind of reversed that seal, and I honestly didn't see any drawback from just putting that on the top, but you do need that grabbing force. So you need a surface, and then you need something to grab it on the top to create a good seal. I didn't see any drawback from just reversing that upward. And so that's the design I kind of went for. So that, if there is something like that, it kind of just falls back down to your soil surface instead of getting caught in that puddle. So
yeah, it's way better. And I definitely see less buildup in those from the, everybody that I've talked to using them. So
none of you guys have had one in hand yet?
I have not had the pleasure of getting one in hand yet. We actually grow in smaller ones too. We kind of keep everything in a shoebox size right now, and the space that we have doesn't quite accommodate for the bigger tote. But
so I've got some shoebox size ones. I don't know if you know about my 1 foot cubes. I've got 3 sizes. They're just not here yet. Yeah. So one size is a 12 inch by 12 inch by 12 inch. It's a really tiny one. It's a little cube. Then the one that you guys have probably seen on the internet is 18 inches long by 15.5 by 12 inches high. And then the other one is the same as the other guy's size, just the different model. And that's a 22.5 by 15.5 by 12. But yeah, if you guys want to test out those little shoe boxes, if that's what size you're growing, I'll send you guys a couple on the house, man. No problem.
I will gladly test them and fucking throw some pictures out and give you my fucking thoughts on them. So, hell yeah, bud.
That'd be fucking great, first of all.
Is that the one I seen you standing on?
No, that was actually the biggest one. And that was fucking 370 pounds of pure man fat sitting on that shit. No, but we were trying to demonstrate the durability. Like, they had these locking grooves on the top of all 3 sizes to where you can stack one of the same size right on top and it interlocks on it. Like the feet of one goes into the lid of the other and they just kind of stack right on top. But we were just trying to demonstrate the durability, but we were standing on it.
Dude,
they take quite a bit of weight. I was surprised.
After seeing some of those, I thought about just buying them honestly for doing clones, for my plant clones, and just use that as my basic clone dome because it would work absolutely perfect for that as well. So
I mean, if I had more guidance in the cannabis community, I bet you I could make a difference there too. It's just, I don't know what cannabis guys need. I know what mushroom guys need because I've been in that for a very long time, but I just never got into growing cannabis. So, I mean, I mean, there might be just some modifications to my current molds that I can make to do something, but I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, things like a decent clone dome. I don't know any of us over here, but they don't exist. Decent ones just don't exist now. They're hard to find the right size. They're hard to find a good quality one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all that
flimsy
flimsy
shit.
plastic, and then
Yep.
they got the little peat pellets in it and shit. Like that's pretty much all they got
Oh,
right now,
cheers,
isn't it?
Reverend
Well,
Grow.
and the other thing is, it's hard to find one that holds fucking humidity in it. And you're doing clones. You need it's same as a damn mushroom, right? You need to be able to hold some humidity, get a little air exchange through that tub, and that's what almost every clone dome has
Yeah,
problem with is holding the damn humidity. So
yeah.
Yeah. So we know we have someone in the comments real quick. Ask us your question. Let's go and have fun. What are some questions that off the top of your mind that you can just think about that you might be able to incorporate? Because one of them for sure is that interlocking for the clone domes. I swear, the clone domes do not just sit nice and easy. They just super flimsy, like you mentioned. So that interlocking, just nice, firm fitting right there.
Yeah.
First thing that comes to mind. But
You're talking about my questions for you guys, or questions from
You
the
have a whole-
audience to me?
yeah, no,
In
I
general,
think that's
you
what
have a
they
whole-
were saying. They said you got a
Yeah.
question. If you want to know about a product for cannabis growers, ask us. You're
you-
you're
Yeah,
talking to a whole lot of them.
oh,
Yeah, so the only thing I've ever noticed about these domes is that they tend to be like the way I've explained it is I think it's called Jiffy. Is that the company that just makes those little peat pellets, and then they got the domes, but they're all made out of these really like this really thin, just crinkly
Super
material to
comfy,
where
yeah.
you use it after one, or it doesn't sit right. And I used them this year to sprout jalapenos because it's the only thing that was on the market. But I really haven't seen anything other than those spray hydroponic kits that really have
And I'm sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I'm sure you noticed that is a
Yeah.
one-season product, right? You used it to sprout jalapenos. If you did it indoors or outdoors, if you put enough light on it, you notice that dome breaks down almost instantly. It's cracked.
Yeah,
It's
and
faded.
then they
It's now.
crack. Yeah,
Yep.
the sunlight really cracks them too. So I mean,
Sunlight
yeah, I
fucks
wouldn't
them
be
instant.
opposed to making something like that. I kind of just wish if I had confirmation that was something useful, I would definitely invest in making something like that. I'd be happy to. And what I'd probably do is I'd probably just use the bottom of my current mold of one of the tubs, and then I would just make a top that's more geared towards the plant fruiting or something or the plant germination. So that's probably what I'd do. But I'd have to have input on designs. I'd have to figure out what you guys need, and then I'd do it. But yeah, but I'd be happy to do that.
yeah.
Well, we should get to talking. I got some ideas for you.
Yeah. I think one of the next major things I want to get into is I don't know how deep you guys into our plant tissue culture, how many guys you do, how many guys that do that. But I want to make a plant tissue culture series, containers, and then obviously the filters that go with it. A lot of the plant tissue culture containers now don't utilize filters, or if they do, it's not really a great filter system. So I kind of want to do something like that allows airflow into your plant tissue culture containers to.
The one person that comes to mind is
Magenta. Yep. Yeah, they're the only ones that make a good system. But there's still some things I think I can improve on. But Magenta is a fantastic company. They're definitely going to be an inspiration for this. So
yeah. As far as tissue culture, the only grower that I know is Farmer Joe out in Virginia. But that's even something that's fucking super interesting.
yeah,
So
it's one of those things where I have to confirm the market viability, because every time I make a new mold, it is expensive. So it's one of those things I got to kind of sift out, figure out if it's worth it. But
yeah, I ended up pre-ordering those autoclave petri dishes from you.
Yeah,
and then I
how'd you
gave
like
a
them?
whole. Well, I have 2 rolls. I gave one over to Lobster, that Fluff was talking about earlier, and then I don't know if he used them yet, but I'm still waiting because clearly I can't get past this part.
Oh, so you haven't done like culture work yet, like flow hood work yet?
I've done petri dishes once, and I had literally a 10%, like 1 out of 10 was good. The rest that were contaminated, I was all like, garden bed. Put it in this pot. Put it in that pot.
Right. Are you still doing like open air work though? You said you haven't worked with the flow hood.
Yeah, I don't have a flow hood. I have like a whole DIY setup. That's what I was gonna say earlier. I'm still on that DIY shoebox text. That's where I ended up using all your filters for, just little
Right.
shoebox sizes. And it's so funny you brought the clone domes because I'm actually using one of the shoebox size that I used for the totes. That's the filters for my clones.
Yeah, I feel like with agar and petri dish work, there's really there's no exception to a good flow hood. I mean, you can do like glove box work, but there's really not much of there's no replacement for a good flow hood in that kind of work. So I would recommend that. Even if you make a homemade one, there's some easy homemade ones that don't cost very much, and you throw them together and they still work.
What are your thoughts on like the vertical flow hood, the ones that are blowing down, they're not blowing at you? I've been seeing some of those that it's more like a workstation, where it's three-sided and then it's got the flow hood where so
Right.
you're working under it. What are your
Right.
thoughts on those rather than the kind of blow towards you flow hood style?
So they work good as long as you have good containment. So if you're only working through a small sliver and you're getting fresh air or clean air blowing downward, all of that air is still coming out towards you. So it's still rushing towards the same area. So as long as the internal, the outflow of air is sterile and your work is well inside of the hood, I don't think it matters much which direction it's coming from. I would probably recommend direct air blowing towards you just because that's what I have more experience in. But I don't see it being much of a variable as long as it's got high enough pressure to blow air out of the hole that you're working in. You just the point is positive pressure blowing away from the work that you're doing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've seen people have great success with doing vertical flow. And one of my buddies works with vertical flow right now and horizontal flow, and he's had no significant difference in viability between the two, as long as there's enough pressure. Yeah.
Because I've had an honest thought about as funny as it sounds, we do all of our work in a 2x4 grow tent that I don't use anymore. So
Yeah.
the idea is it's a giant still air box. The only thing that goes in there is mushroom work. It's easy to sterilize. There's no flow once you zip it in. And I thought my thoughts were I were going to take it one step further, and I was going to put since it is a 2x4 and they actually make 2x4 is a pretty standard flow hood size. 2 foot by 4. So I was actually going to put one in the whole ceiling of the 2x4 and turn the whole tent into a positive pressure. And I've been debating on whether or not to do that. Do you think that would sound like a good idea?
So there are such things, and a lot of medical rooms use that technology. The thing is you would have to you'd have to read what your flow rate is exiting the room. So I don't think that 1 2x4 in a whole room is enough. I think you'd have to have 3 or 4 of them even, and it'd have to be running on high. But I think that the ultimate goal is finding a good flow rate outside of the room, because anything that's coming into the room is obviously going to be filtered. It's going to be sterile. So I'm not worried about the incoming. It's more of how fast are you moving the air out? Because if it's moving at a very low pressure, it feels like that there could still be contaminated air coming in. If you're moving at a high rate, that means that even if you open the door slightly, you're still pushing out all the possibly contaminated air. And that's what you have to worry about. So if you're making a full room, you know that when you open the door to get in, you're letting stuff in. But the higher the pressure you have, the safer you are. And I think that you'd have to have some kind of standard operating procedure with sterility on what you're wearing. So you have to have clean clothes. You have to, your arms have to be sterile. And then you walk in, and then you have to stand there for maybe a couple minutes to make sure most of that stuff blows out, because you came from outside, right? So if you come from outside and you bring some shit in, you're going to have to figure out, okay, well, how am I going to clean myself to where I'm not getting it in? So the reason that flow hoods, I think, are better, even though positive air rooms give you more space, is because a flow hood, you just got to wash your fucking arms and then go into the flow hood. There's really not much to clean. But in a positive air room, you're introducing with your own vector, your own self, all of the contaminants that would come in. So I know medical rooms have that technology, and there's ways that they do it. I haven't researched enough on how they do it, but it's probably a little more difficult.
I think I just don't understand quite how valuable the sterility part of the process is.
And it's one of those things that's like, it's maybe or not, because I've literally inoculated jars like before I knew injection ports like this existed. I used to open jar lids, squirt fucking matter into it, close them, and this was in open air where I just sprayed Lysol, and I thought that was sterility. Yeah. And I fucking had successful grows, man. I didn't have contamination, so it's like,
give it the old Lysol dust.
Yeah, dude.
Right, we're good.
I used to breathe in like horrible chemicals and do all that, and just open the lids and squirt shit in there, and it would work. And then some people, like, they squirt through injection ports after alcohol swabbing and lightering and everything like that, and they still get contaminated. So it's like, I don't know. It really depends on the environment.
It's a world so small compared to what we're used to. Like, what happens down on that level, I can't even. I'm so excited to learn, because it's different when you kind of know a bit and you just want to up your level. Sometimes, like, say for instance, my guitar playing, I got kind of good at it, but then it was really hard to go from being decent to like stellar. Yeah. There's that, it was hard. But with mushrooms and mycology on its own, I'm a fresh canvas right now. I honestly, the last thing I would have learned would have been like, grade 10 biology or something,
And like you said, it's all about scale. Like, there's a little mini world war going on that you don't even fucking see. And that's the craziest thing, is like, we just see it. Oh, it's just a contaminant and it turned green. But that's like little Germans killing off some other colony, like growing their, it's like, you don't even see it. It's like a little world war going on under there.
Well, I have that.
That's why the microscope is very important.
Like, when you start something new, something you're interested in, and you have the drive to learn it, I love it, because as soon as I get that passion turned on, there's no, it's not work anymore. It's not laborious. It's all these videos I'm now going to watch, and all these things I'm going to learn. They're not going to be strenuous. It's going to be all like, bring it on. Because like, I like mushrooms, man. They make me feel good. So and they're not around a lot, so I'm going to make them be around quite often.
Yeah, I suppose try to make it not feel like work as long as possible. And the way that I've decided I don't make it feel like work is I just try to do something different every few months so that I stay interested in what I do. Because as soon as I make something, it's like, okay, cool, it's been made. And then I'm like, all right, well, now I'm sitting in a pile of what I've already made. So it's like, I have to keep moving. And it's just, I'm one of those guys that gets incredibly bored very quickly. And it's not good, but it's also good at the same time. So it's not good because I get unhappy if I'm not moving, but then it propels me to move. So yeah, but just, keep it exciting. Keep doing new shit and you're good.
Mm-hmm.
So, an interesting one, High Insight was talking about those Petri dishes you just made. I think I just figured out something, because I've been kind of struggling with agar work. And I think what I figured out is I thought maybe my mycelium was just fucking running rampant, eating the shit up, and my stuff just wasn't nutrient dense enough. Because within a month, I mean, my cake was like, next to nothing left inside there. Some mycelium on top of almost nothing. I was very confused, and then realized I think they're just drying out. Like, is my problem. So, do your dishes have like kind of a better seal, or is that just a matter of I'm not doing my part to seal them properly?
What kind of a wrap are you using to seal your dishes?
When I did it, the ones we did were all that tape. So micropore tape. We sealed them all with.
Okay, so you want to use what's that fucking thing called? Parafilm?
The parafilm?
Yeah, so micropore tape allows a lot of passivity. A micropore tape is not good for dishes, because it allows too much through. So you're losing humidity wrapping with micropore tape. So what you want is something called parafilm, which is made to wrap Petri dishes. it allows some airflow through, not very much, but enough to make your culture survive. But it also keeps too much humidity from going out. The other thing that you can use is like grafting tape, and I have my own version of that on the site. It's more expensive than you could probably get on Amazon. So if you can find it yourself, I don't recommend mine. But yeah, even grafting tape would work, where you just wrap your petri dish in, because it's not really, there's really not much needed to. Is that my tub?
Nope.
Oh.
So remember I said I was on a DIY.
Oh, that looks sweet. I like that. That's
So I went on a whole DIY kick.
very cool.
So I ended up getting a tub. I put in those little fucking fans, a dual fan, little HEPA filter on the inside. Got your
Nice.
light. Cut the holes out, because this is when you were talking about the positive pressure. I was like, oh shit, I totally got a fucking box. But the air is definitely flowing out from the inside. So
you should take a couple of his filter patches and actually fucking plug some of those holes and regulate that airflow to get a little more pressure inside of there.
And then
Yeah, maybe. How is your humidity retention though? Is what I'm worried about. If you've got
This-
positive pressure, you're gonna have some humidity leaching.
Yeah, that is this is just your still air box you work inside, right?
box. Yeah.
Oh,
Flow box.
okay.
Flow.
Hell
Still-
yeah. No, that would work. Very good. Because then all okay, so you're pretty much the air that's positive pressure would go out the small holes, but your arms are in the big holes.
Yes, the arms will be in
Yeah,
the
no, that's perfect. That would fucking work. Like that's
fucking
exactly what you
brilliant, Iron Tight. That's I'm proud of you, buddy. That's fucking decent.
dude, that's sick. That's dude, I have that same Honeywell in my living room right now. They put out yeah, that would work really well.
So air purifier going to where the fans are pulling in the air. Get your positive pressure out, holes you're working in.
But you'd have to have, I would say, even so, you'd have to have something directly in front of those fans that are pulling air.
Yeah. Yeah, you
you're
need some kind
still-
of
you're
actual
still-
filter on that.
So
right on it. You're still getting contaminated air through that, I promise you. But the concept is good because
I have a filter on the other side of the fan.
yeah.
Maybe double filtering would probably be better. So you see the filter on the front side.
How strong are those fans? Because you got to have some serious strength to pull through micron. So those filters, the filters that actually do micron rating, you have to have a lot of power for that suck through something so fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is just one of those like for fans HEPA filters. I just double layered it on the inside. Like they came in a rectangle shape, but I definitely could upgrade the quality of it for sure. But
Yeah,
if you-
so the still air box method, the still air box method is pretty much you have a closed thing that has no air flow through it, and then you just have like a Lysol container to sterilize the inside. Like that works too. Passivity, so with passivity you have to have, yeah, you already know, you have to have like a really strong micron rated thing to go through it. I think that you might be able to modify that filter that you got next to it. Maybe you can figure out how to like close
Box it.
off air and just put the face of that filter right in front of it
like,
and allow nothing else in, like fucking plastic wrap or something to try and block it all off. That might work.
I know an HVAC guy. Guy could definitely help me out with this.
He's already
you gonna-
spouting terminology and he's already corrected us. He's already in chat.
Oh, okay. All right, let me go.
He's got you in chat. Yes, we do have an HVAC guy. He knows his stuff. Kept my furnace going the last couple of years. And he's in. Where is he?
So you guys are all neighbors. You guys are like real close to each other.
I'm not. I'm up in Canada, right? So I'm close to these guys via Discord and stuff. A lot of the.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the crew down south hang out on Discord on a daily, and I'm in there with them. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those guys are kind of close. We are all over the world. Yeah, we got guys in Canada. I'm in Illinois. They're in places.
Oh, we aren't too far then, because I'm in Michigan. I just went to Illinois on Monday.
Oh, nice. What were you doing in here? This shithole
So
of a state.
my mom wanted to get her. So my mom is a U.S. citizen, but she was born in Colombia. And if you stay away from your home country of Colombia too long, then you don't keep citizenship. But she went to renew it. So she got a Colombian passport, and now she's also got an American passport. So she's got dual passports, but she also regained her citizenship in Colombia through the Chicago office. So we went down there to go renew her Colombian citizenship and passport. So
That's awesome, man.
That sounds worse than buying a car. Like, when I think about all the things you would have to deal with, and the paperwork, and the people, and the lines, and the
it's tough. Bureaucracy, it really is hell.
Dude, can't even fucking imagine, man. But on that note, how about a dab frog for everybody? Thanks, Fluff, for rewinding it.
Look at that fire ad.
Bow.
You know, I gotta love when a fucking guest appreciates the fat ass that is the dab frog.
Yes. Usually it just confuses them.
You know,
At the right angle, it looks human enough.
Dude, it's just enough to appreciate it. So, really appreciate you being here, man, and
Yeah, it's been cool.
thoroughly excited for just your products in general, the stuff that you've come out with, that you're gonna come out with. Now that we know you're coming out with a shoebox size, everybody's like, "Wait, I need to try one of those. I need to try one."
Right?
Oh yeah. We got those coming in like hopefully less than a month. It might be like a month, in the month range, but they're on their way already. So yeah,
That's sick, dude. I love the idea of that. And actually, more of that size would be, I could put more on it would stack better in my areas. So I could run through more genetics that way.
yeah. Some people kind of want to just like keep their grows under their bed and have something minor and just like not, you know. Some people aren't really displaying on Instagram. They want to do their own thing. They're just following along, like, yeah, or genetic testing. So that's what those guys are for. I got that just for small scale testing.
I was just going to say that is, and a lot of us in our cannabis community, we're pheno hunters. We're not looking for that one thing. We're looking at all of them because we want to find a couple, because it's all about getting different types and, you know, getting it all right. They're like Pokemon, you got to catch them all. So
yeah, and you don't need a giant setup to waste all the substrate to find that one thing that you like. You know? And one can argue, obviously, more surface area you get, the more phenotypes you can get expressed in the same amount, you know, in a tub or something. But yeah.
But if you're running just, if you're running cultures from people that are already known, and you just like, is this culture for me? You know, is a hillbilly for me, or is it Enigma for me? You know, I don't need to find different phenotypes of it. I just need to try that one. You know,
right?
So,
you got to hit it and quit it, see if it's for you, and if you like it, you keep it going. Yeah,
absolutely. So you got great little fucking pheno hunter blocks right there, man. Yeah. So that's perfect.
And a lot of it even has to do with just like CO2 production in the gardens. You know, a lot of them talk about leaving it on the ground. So I know a lot of people just use this as a CO2 production bag and hang it up in the top of their grow room next to one of their fans or something.
I've seen that, those exhale bags. Yeah. Those guys got a good thing going. I haven't seen them around lately. I don't know if there's like if they're still producing or not, but they were pretty hot last year, but I haven't seen them in a while.
They were doing real good.
Yeah. I think because I can take something like my spawn jar or my fruiting tub and just go throw it in my grow room and get the same thing and get some nice cubes at the end.
Yeah.
Because I do. When I have a contaminated tub, that stuff goes right into my grow room. So I will just see if there's anything harvestable, you know, out of that tub. You know, if it's showed the contam late or something, and I can get like the back half of that tub or something. But I'll throw and just see what a second flush does inside my grow room and just take the advantage of the CO2 because I've got the tub there. Nothing that it is doing is bad for what I've got. So as soon as it looks ugly and gross, I just bury the thing in my soil and go about my day.
Yeah. Whoopsies, it got contaminated. Fuck it.
Yep.
Might as well make a gem out of it, right?
That's
Whoops.
right. Absolutely. So,
Literally go.
shit,
I
go
was
ahead,
gonna
man.
say, literally going with the mindset: if I get more mushrooms out of this, cool. If I don't, the plant's gonna be good. It's gonna take
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what mycology is about, is making the best out of a, yeah, I want to say make the best out of a shitty situation, but if you can recycle a contaminated tub, then what are you going to do? Might as well
Hey,
do that. So.
you're talking to the right people here. We're most of us are all organic growers, and we all either grow in shit, live in shit. Shit makes my weed what it is. So you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
We'll
We're
take a
we're
shit
thrifty
pun all
people.
day. That's
Yeah.
right.
Got to be thrifty.
That's right.
Laid down some fish fertilizer this morning. Mm-mm.
Oh yeah.
Mm-mm.
Gotta love that. So, what kind of things besides different size, the different size tubs that are coming down the pipe? What else are you looking for in the future? You're looking. You said you're looking for ideas and things. What are you kind of looking towards right now?
Um, it always makes more sense to me to try and serve the broadest audience that I can, and kind of solve the biggest problems. Um, the more people that I help, obviously, the more my company can expand and solve more problems. Um, I think that there's a lot of room in the bag area of things. I know that there's some supply chain issues with coming up with enough bags for people. I don't know if you guys have heard that there's trouble for some of the American companies and even the overseas companies supplying the bad demand. And I'd like to kind of contribute to that eventually. I'm a little far from that. I'm not like right around the corner from that, but I might have an incubator project going on pretty soon to kind of figure that problem out. That's something I've always wanted to do. There's also a substrate problem that people have with being able to produce quar substrate on mass scale and batch mixers because they only come in bricks. So I'd like to solve that problem. And there's a couple things that I want to get into. A couple of these problems I'm very close to solving, and they'll be coming to market. I don't want to talk about them yet, but I'm always looking to solve the most problems that I can. Flow hoods. The thing with flow hoods is there's a lot of players in the flow hood game. I just feel like there's a lot of people that solve that flow hood problem, and there's some really great flow hoods out there that aren't at a really big price. They're actually reasonably priced, and I don't want to take away from companies that I feel like are doing the right thing. And that's kind of one of those things where I don't want to play the game against companies that I respect, that I feel like are making a difference. And we're all just stepping on each other's toes. I kind of want to find the holes in mycology, and if I can, in cannabis, and then try to solve those problems. And right now, I think that one of the biggest problems is the supply chain issues with bags, and so that's where I think I want to
Excellent.
concentrate my efforts. But
I would
Excellent.
100,000% rather invest in biodegradable, compostable bags. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie.
yeah.
I would
And the
rather
problem
throw it
that
in
we
my
have now with
compost
those
bin.
is there's no high temp bags that are biodegradable or compostable, or there's another one there's an oxydegradable version. The problem is the bio and oxydegradable versions not only don't really have a great temperature rating, it's that they have a shelf life. So if you store them on a shelf, the oxydegradable ones, if you have them on a shelf for more than like 2 or 3 months, then they won't perform at the same rate that if they were brand new that they would perform at. So I fear that I would have some, they'd sit on the shelf for 3 months, and then I sell them to somebody, and then they explode in the pressure cooker because they can't withstand the issue, the high temps and the steam. And so, it's one of those things where there's not really enough development in plastics right now to kind of serve the renewable market, which I would love to get in. Something I'm very interested in. Obviously, who wouldn't want to help the recycling and
If you
getting rid
got
of the
on
disposable.
to so just looking into something like this, the way you say, is there any way to make like something that could be like an easy way to clean and sterilize those bags after use to be able to just reuse them? You know what I mean?
So yeah, I just saw somebody say something about the reusable market. So somebody on the internet came to me with an idea. And, you know, I get a lot of ideas all the time. People asking me to make things. Sometimes they make sense. Sometimes they don't make sense. But I got a really good idea lately about a bag that potentially could be reused. And they just kind of give me parameters for the design. They didn't give me any material recommendations. I want to do a silicone bag, and it's got some kind of attachable filter. So that you might have to either wash and hopefully not dispose of, but wash the filter so that you could reuse the filter. The problem is we're lacking a bit of clarity with the silicone. And the other thing is you'd have to turn them outside to wash them. It'd be very, very labor intensive to wash all the bags. And that's the only thing that I'm running into an issue with. Because if I come out with a reusable bag, how hard is it going to be to replace, to reuse a bag or to fix the bag or to to replace the filter, to wash it? It's like there's a lot of bottlenecks involved with it that I'd like to solve, but it's just like some of these things aren't justifiable yet. But I'm working on an idea.
It's the problem with anything production or the way it's going to happen, right? You look at almost any greenhouse situation; they're constantly throwing away pots rather than washing them, right? They use the plastic bags, right? All that shit can be cleaned and used. It's a matter of labor to do it, and that's what it exactly like you said. That's what it boils down to: is to get how do you figure out to get rid of that part of the labor aspect of it.
Right. So I understand that it's a very big problem. Like people do feel bad about throwing away stuff that they can't recycle. The problem is if I create this product, which I know will cost me tens of thousands of dollars, how many people are going to uptake this new system that requires so much more work on their part? When you know monotubs already take a lot of work, and the washing of petri dishes, the PP5 dishes I come out with, like they're only being accepted by home growers because no commercial person, no commercial grower or commercial user is going to go through the process of washing. It just takes a lot of effort. And so it's kind of a niche product. If I create these bags and it costs me as much as I think it will to make, it's like how many people are going to accept it? And that's really the bottleneck, is I have to make it economical. And the only way that I can do that is coming up with an idea where it's easy to wash, easy to replace the filter. And I'm still kind of working on that. There's really nothing that comes to mind right now that makes that kind of like one of those, aha, that works. And it's it takes a little bit of, it's more than just an idea. There's a lot more to it that's required. But I definitely am interested. The bag problem is a serious issue that needs to be solved.
Right, and that's why actually when you said it, and I think I misspoke earlier when I said I thought the bags were in the minority, not the majority, because I figured, right, I can easily clean out my mason jars,
Right.
And I guess it really turns into the amount of spawn you use for your tub type thing. I'm a little guy making a couple tubs. I'm not doing this shit en masse, and so the biggest thing I think I might put 2 quarts in my biggest tub. So I'm not breaking the bank here, even if I was using plastic. So, but my part, right? That's what I use the mason jars for in that aspect. And so it's like, right, where, and even if you made something big, plastic and easy, that would work great. It would still be disposable to most people because they're like, right, like it's just easier to get rid of it and start over.
Right. Even if and this wouldn't even work, but theoretically, if I made this work, if I made some kind of Ziploc silicone bag that had good clarity or something, and I had a breather hole, how many people are going to want to turn these film bags inside out and then wash them, and then they gotta clean them out. It's a lot of
if it made it dishwasher safe, it would take out a lot of that labor. But my biggest issue would be if anything gets caught in the little crevices.
Right. So, and that's the problem with bags, is that you have, all these, and I could theoretically mold like something circular that doesn't have any hard edges. But at the same time, you're worried about something that's supposed to be thin. That's, how are you going to stack that in a dishwasher? They're going to be tall, right? Because you have to have them sitting up tall and open. So your top rack is out of the question. You'd have to only use it on the bottom rack. And you could theoretically wash it, but if it gets crumbled or if it falls over during that, it's not going to work. I just feel like the only efficient way to do it is through manual hand washing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something I don't think people are going to accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Now,
I've been sitting on the silicone idea for a while. The guy that came to me with like attaching a removable filter that you might be able to wash, like all of these are great ideas in theory. It's just it's going to add so many more parameters to your system that I just don't think it's going to take. It's not going to take.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think the ideal situation for bags is finding a biodegradable material that
The
still
bag.
withstands the temperature and the steam.
Yes. And I was
That's
gonna
it.
say probably the
And
best.
that's material research, man. There's bigger guys than me trying to find that material, and they've been at it for years. It's just one of those things where maybe I have to wait for an innovation. I'm one of those small guys that like I use materials that I learn about and know about and I'm confident with, and I make my products based on those materials. I don't have a big lab and a biochemist, not biochemistry, but I don't have like a plastics chemistry lab to do this research and stuff like that. But I think that the best solution is to find something that's biodegradable that still withstands all those parameters that we need in mycology, and we just
being
don't have
on
that. It's just not
that,
there.
if you don't mind me asking, that actually just brought me to a really neat question, or what I think is a really neat question. How did you get to the point of finding and picking the material for like your filter ports, the way they were kind of designed, and your injection ports? You know, like how did the trial and error? Like, how did you find out about these products? You know, like how did that come to be in the design of it?
So, as I mentioned before, I get bored really easily. But on the flip side, when I find something that I'm interested in, I'm absolutely obsessive. You cannot keep me away from it. And so when I wanted to make the right filter, I obsessed over finding the absolute best adhesive that would withstand steam and heat for long periods of time. I tried to find the best filter material that would be hydrophobic, that would still be, you could steam it and it wouldn't degrade, it wouldn't puff up, it wouldn't allow contaminants to pass through. And that's just what it is. I'm Over the years that I've been doing this, I've learned about a lot of materials. And so now if I ever try to find a material, I just reference back from the things that I learned from doing other materials. But it's just a compounding of time and obsession, I guess, is the best way. I'm no engineer. I never got a formal degree in anything. I'm not a biochemist. I'm not I didn't get a degree formally in anything. But if you're asking about what mycology needs for materials, I'm comfortable in saying that I'm experienced enough to contend with anybody that might have recommendations. I don't know. So,
Right.
but it's more of it's just time and obsession, man. It's just, I
Fuck
love what
yeah,
I do.
dude. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I think you're like kind of the epitome of what we all kind of look up to. And I mean, with me listening to you talk, you fit in every bit of this community, right? You're here to better the community for the growers, for for the medicine and for what we do, right? You're not like you said, you're not here to step on somebody else who's doing the same thing or that's doing something else, right? He's got his thing, let him do his thing, and we're gonna focus on making our shit the best for what our community is. So I've got nothing but big props from listening to you talk right now, man. So and whatever and however you're doing it, fucking keep doing it, man.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the marketplace, in the free market, and I know a lot of people don't. There's some ugly sides to capitalism, but I think that one of the great things about our society and the way that we operate is that we're kind of free to compete with each other, and competition is healthy. I think that if somebody comes out with something that's good for a community, and then somebody else comes out of it, comes out with another variation of it, or something else that might be better, we're constantly forcing each other to improve, either on quality or price or any number of variables that make things happen. And that's why I like where I live. The United States is one of those few countries that we still have the freedom to compete, and competition is healthy. And I'm just a specialist. I don't know a lot about, like mushroom hunting. And there's some people that are absolute geniuses. They could look at it, a mushroom in the wild, and know exactly what it is. And I can't tell you that. There's some people that are just like walking encyclopedias. But yeah, I'm just a specialist in materials, and I like what I do. And I serve this community because this is this is a love that I have, but you know, I've got shortcomings in other areas. Like there's people that are just
Hey man, and we
fucking
appreciate you
G's.
for what you do.
Yeah.
Truly appreciate you for what you do, man. And definitely gonna end up making more attempts and fucking just growing mushrooms in general because I'm excited. But with
Me
these
too.
bags, dude, one of the biggest markets to get into those are organic growers, not just home growers, but commercial scales as well. Because
You mean like the food, like shiitakes and oysters and shit?
yeah, if you get into biodegradable bags.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
Even in cannabis too, because some of them, again, they might just use them for CO2 uptake and then just end up letting them biodegrade into their garden beds.
Yeah, it makes sense, and you know, it's better than that than putting it in a fucking pile and in some trash yard, right?
Absolutely. So there's definitely a lot of possibilities that I'm really looking forward to see what you come out with. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Mhm.
It's your respect, you'll figure
I
it
hope
out.
so. I know Unicorn has come out with something. You guys know anything about Unicorn? Like they have these. I think they're called oxy-degradable bags. So they degrade in oxygen, not necessarily under compost. So they have to be exposed to oxygen to degrade, but they still degrade. So they're not completely unhealthy. They still, you know, they still break down. But I'm not sure if they're, you know, how well they perform under heat. Maybe somebody in your audience has used them before, but I've never had one up close or anything.
I haven't. I've been staying pretty tried and true with glass and plastic and rewashing my stuff. And since I'm on such a small scale, it's super easy to do that. So
Right. Yeah.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. If anyone would know, it'd be this guy, Raptor Grow.
Yeah, I
He's
have actually.
very
Yeah, no, I've talked with him on Instagram. He's a cool dude. Raptor
yeah.
Grow. I think he actually won one of my drawings back in the day too, didn't he? What did I forgot what he won. But yeah, Raptor Grow, he won one of my drawings.
Yeah, he's very knowledgeable.
Absolutely.
Pretty
Dude,
sure he
he's
has a lot of
great
good
about
ideas
like
himself.
passing on knowledge, fucking learning, smart dude, fucking yeah. We've
Dude's
talked
a
to him
G.
a few times here too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, he's
do
been
you-
on?
Oh yeah, we've had Raptor on a couple times now, I think.
Hell
But
yeah.
two or three times we've had Raptor on, had talk with him.
You might have to make some plans with him. Raptor, when are you free?
Yeah, man.
Let me
When
know.
you gonna come back and have a talk, man?
Let's talk. Or what are you doing for Halloween? Fuck them kids.
So for a guy like me who wants to kind of, I don't want to dive too deep, but I want to dive deep enough that I'm successful. If I had a small harvest, I'm not talking even like lots, just like a couple small flushes so that I can have a few mushrooms. Who do I go to learn? Where do I go to learn? Do you have a resource that you know?
So I'm more of a visual guy. I'm not really great at reading articles and looking at pictures. And so I tend to go on the YouTube arena. I'm sure most of the guys that you know of have heard of Philly Golden Teacher and 90-second Mycology. And, you know, I'd go to the YouTube guys for that because they demonstrate everything. They're very concise and it's not real complicated. I would go on YouTube and look up maybe 90-second Mycology and Philly Golden Teacher.
Okay.
And, Willie Michael's in there too. He's helpful with a lot of stuff. He actually gets into more some stranger stuff, like some extractions and stuff too. He's pretty good at. So
yeah, I like Willie a lot. He's got some good stuff. See, who else? I mean, Ed's been putting out a lot of good content lately. Ed Grand.
Yeah.
So
Ed Grand. Is that his name on YouTube?
Yeah, Edward Grand, I believe, is his. Let me double check, but yeah, I think that's what his goes under.
Nice. Yeah, I would say YouTube because it's really easy to find good info on YouTube. Super easy.
Oh shit!
Hey, whenever you guys are ready, it sounds like.
He's been all busy and stuff, being all college educated and getting his new jobs and stuff. So, we haven't been hounding him too much, but when he's ready, we'll absolutely be ready for him. So
nice.
Hey, Halloween night is free. Just saying, throw it out there. eBay did it.
So is there somebody you specifically like for your information period when you go to look, or have you been doing this like so long that you just kind of pass through to see your friends talk on the interwebs?
Well, after 2015, I haven't really grown myself, but I got my old information from Shroomery back before they even had a bunch of videos on YouTube. So I learned my substrate sterilization or pasteurization tech through something called a Damien 5050. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. That's some old school shit.
Bucket tech.
Yep, the bucket tech. There you go. So you take your you got a single brick of coir, 2 quarts of worm, 4 quarts of boiling water. That's that Damien 5050 tech. And I don't even know who the guy is, but he's legendary just for that. And that was it. As long as you got sterile grain and it's colonized fully, you fucking throw it in there with your bag or in your tub, and it's all good. So that's it. That's all I needed to know, and I figured out the rest.
And I feel like a lot of people that I've heard have gone that same way. When they realized that part could be that easy, they were like, "Well, I think maybe I can do this."
Yeah. It's really I think the biggest hurdles that people have is like, how do you make sterile substrate and get it fully colonized? And the other thing is, how do you make a sterile grain and get it fully colonized? And then how do you make a substrate? And then, you solve those 2 problems, everything else falls into place. Doesn't matter if you fruit it out of a bag or put it in a tub. So who gives a shit? It's all the same.
So, right. And then getting the idea and shit, man, once you've got that figured out and you realize exactly how easy it is. And then guys like in our chat, Hillbilly Herb, and he had mentioned bonsai fungi. Like all of a sudden you realize you can start doing crazy shit and get those mushrooms to go where you want and make these just beautiful little, you can make that shit grow out of a lot of things. And make some really cool art.
Bibles and hats and their sweatshirts and their shoes and all sorts of shit. People fucking put it on anything.
So I didn't understand Uncle Ben Tech at first. I didn't understand it, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it. Cool. I totally forgot to cook the bag first. I was like, what the fuck is going on? This doesn't look right. Tossed the bag. I was like, fuck this shit. I'm gonna make my own bags.
See, if you would have had a filter for it.
It seems it's all sterile when you cook it, so yeah, it's pretty easy. It's a clever name, 90-second mycology, because it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it works off the Uncle Ben's tech.
Yeah, for me right now,
yeah, I like his branding. His branding is pretty smart, orange and everything.
I'm doing grow kits right now, and I don't know what's happening or what's like, you know what I mean? I don't understand the process, so like all I can do is look at them and be like, there's no mushrooms in there yet. So I'm ready to start. All the guys told me like, why don't you do this? You gotta start like, why, like we'll teach you from step 1. I'm like, no, this is easy. You just do the thing and you get mushrooms. I got no mushrooms, and nothing's happening, and I don't know what's going on. So I got to start from square one. I got to dive deep on this and figure it out.
How'd you start? Did you inject multispore into a bag or what?
No, it was just these kits came. They're called.
It's a boomer bag, wasn't it?
Yeah, Zoom bag or something like that. And it already came as a block. It did have some sort of like white webby kind of looking shit on it. You're supposed to rehydrate the block, put it in your fridge overnight, 12 hours plus, and then drain the water off till there's no standing water. And then you prop the bag open or whatever, or not open, prop the bag up and keep the top closed with like clips. And there's a little filter, just like the kind of junky ones, I guess, the non-hydrophobic ones or whatever. And nothing's really happening. I don't know. There's all the reviews and everything were always like, everyone said, oh yeah, only 15 days later, mushrooms started to grow. It's been
it's one of those things where you kind of have to, you have to rely on counterparty reliability. I'm always an advocate of like, learn how to do it yourself and fucking make it. It's like, if you make stuff like grain bags and substrate bags on small scale, you know, it's a lot of the time you get better efficiency. It's more reliable. But when some of these guys are making thousands of those a day, it's like, fuck, man. How many are getting through out of those thousands that you may have let something in, or there's something, there's something wrong with them. When you start doing large scale production, it's like, how much you fucking up.
And it was really, really hot when they got shipped out, and it came from way across the country. So it is what it is. I figured I'd give it a whirl and whatever, but it didn't work out. So whatever. Moving right along, and yeah, like I figured too, just like you said, I'll do a lot better starting from ground zero and learning a little bit, and it's a little different when you actually.
Hey man, I'm right there with you. I totally forgot I had one of those Flow hood boxes, man. I'm gonna try. I got to relearn everything.
Yeah,
might have been.
But I think the hardest part, really, when it boils down to it, is getting your freaking spawn jars right. Getting your spawn right? Whatever technique you use there, whether it's brown rice, Uncle Ben's, fucking popcorn, bird seed, you got to have like that prep on point. Because I definitely have seen, like when we have burst kernels and things, if it got overcooked, just that one kernel. You see, it just doesn't want to colonize, or it gets fucked up or mushy, or, that you can almost pinpoint that's where the contam started from. So, it's all that prep work that's, it's vital. So learning your spawn, I think, is first and foremost.
It's always that one dirty bastard in the jar that fucks it for the rest of them.
Right, just like on the job site, G-Bay. It's always that one motherfucker, dude.
I work alone. What are you saying?
I mean,
my bad.
No, I've been having fun at work lately. Honestly, man, went from a factory to wilderness basically, so it's kind of cool.
Nice. Spores. Where does everybody, anybody who does get their genetics, where you guys get them from? I've been running the same shit, man. I've been blessed with some, and I just keep running what I got. So, fruity spores. Is that the name of the one Tanazi uses? That's I know where mine.
Little shop of spores. That's where I got mine from.
Can I see chats? Let's see. What's the chats? Comments?
Yeah.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah. Oh man, you might have to scroll up a bunch.
Oh, it's up.
It's all over the place. So, like Inoculate the World. I know that's one that's been fucking trusted. So there's a good one.
Dirty South Mycology is recommended by Raptor Grow. Oh shit.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's the comments. So I can't see my own face in chat and everybody else. I have to either pick the comments or the chat. But Sacred 3 Mushroom. Join chat. Oh, are we on? Are you guys streaming through YouTube or something?
Oh yeah, we're on YouTube.
Oh, so I'm on just the StreamYard thing.
Yeah.
I fear that if I press connect, that
God knows
that I'm going to disconnect from this. Let's see.
Bam.
If you can see comments, I mean, I guess it's either you can see comments or us. So I'd rather look at the comments personally.
Wait, I'm okay. So I think I'm in both now. I can still hear you, but I can't see the live comments. I can see the live comments, but I can't see you. And then if I exit, I can see you, but I can't see the live comments. So,
oh yeah,
damn, that sucks. I see the ones that pop up onto the screen though. So when you guys like make it pop up, I can see those, but I can't see everything else.
Yeah, because we're on a laptop, we're able to see the comments on the side as well as the cameras right here.
Okay.
Screens.
How many people are in right now?
Oh, like 9,852.
500, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, 500. Yeah, that's the magic number, 500. We've only got 30. We've got 36 people hanging out in chat.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, no. Yeah. Like every time I release a live, it's like it's doesn't even. It's always the people that come later, like watch it the next day. That's where you compound all of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
500.
No, we had a good one. We had like 50 people in chat. We had Tommy Chong on, and somebody had made the comment that we had like 500 people in chat. He was like, "Whoa, it was pretty funny." So that's correct. So there's always 500 people in chat in our mind.
Look,
We've been up
36.
what do we hit? One, I don't know what our top number is.
36 bad mofos.
We do all right.
36 OGs, the ones that belong here.
Oh,
That's
hell
right.
yeah. It's a strong
That's
community.
exactly it too.
I've
Die
been
hard.
here every Tuesday. Well, not every Tuesday, but every Friday and stuff for a good couple of years. Well, a year and a bit. Anyways.
It was a bison dude.
What? Oh, you talking about the crazy fucker?
Yeah, there was that. That was a good one too.
That crazy fucker. Is there a story behind that? That crazy fucker?
Oh my God. Yeah, probably some of the reason this show probably has even started is we had this dude who, man, we couldn't get him to shut up. And he was on a cell phone in the middle of nowhere, and it was black, pitch black, and all you could see was his face. And so you just imagine pitch black, and it looked like Max Headroom. All right, you remember Max Headroom? All right, that's showing some age. Fuck. All right, anyway, dude's all up in there, and he is just jacked. Fuck. And he's doing this, and he's looking everywhere, but fucking and he's talking as fast as he's looking, and we couldn't get that dude. Oh my God. It was amazing. It was just one of those things like you couldn't control anything about it. And the guy was just off his fucking rocker. Hilarious.
He was just a little methed up.
Man, he was something. He was something. That's for sure.
Oh,
Don't be messing around over here, all right?
God damn. I'd have to go back, man. It's hard. I don't even, Caribou slapped me for not remembering his name. That's,
now for strains of mushrooms, for people that wouldn't know, because like I still get running into people that are like weed. I'm like, oh, I slap. Yeah, mycology people are probably the same. And I'm like, I don't know. I eat a mushroom and I kind of see auras and I get real laughy and shit. And I don't know, but I know there's different feelings associated with different strains or whatever you call different families of mushrooms. But so what are the what's the laughy one and what's the like emotional? Is there like different categories, like different trips you can kind of start by taking a certain strain to guide yourself to a sort of a certain type of feeling?
So, honestly, there's so many out there. Like, so, all right. So I've got access to a massive community of people that just grows just absurd amounts of different kinds of strains, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I find one that gives me a feeling that's tolerable during the come up, and that's I would say that I get granted more access to myself during the actual experience in moderate to low doses, I tend to stick with those, and I don't deviate very much. So there's one particular grower in my home state that grows a particular strain of PE7, or everybody that says they grow PE7, there's probably 20 different PE7s. So it's like, because everybody's growing something different, and then they stick with a line of that. So it's like when somebody says that they grow a particular strain, it's like, yeah, but is it the same as the guy in California that's growing the same strain? So I don't know what the major differences are. I feel like every mushroom's unique that each grower has, because when you put them in different parameters, they might yield different alkaloids or different balances of different compounds that make you feel a different way. So in my experience, there's really not much consistency. It's kind of like, White Widow in Canada is not the same as White Widow in Mexico, or, it's just, there's too much bullshit and too much variable to really be consistent.
The cannabis community is so deep in that. That is so ingrained in the cannabis community. It's not even funny.
Yeah,
sounds very
my
it's becoming
neighbor
the same.
next door does not have the same strain that we both have that's labeled the same.
Yeah, I just feel like the same dilution of name. Listen, if you get a product from somebody, it's
So I should
It's
treat it kind of like I
different.
do my cannabis, grow it out, try it, and then go from there and start building a
Absolutely.
bank of trusted strains and strains.
You
that
know
I
that old saying, cubes are cubes?
Yeah.
At this point, there's so many different variables about the compounds and potencies. It's like the only real difference is how they look. You know, I can't really say, you know, some of them might be more potent or anything like that, but like the different trip experiences, it's like
I
it
find
could
it's
just be
always
you that particular day too. It's like there's really no consistency to read by. I don't know.
I always find it's associated with like my surroundings and setting and people I'm with and stuff like that. Every
Yeah.
time I've had kind of a bad trip, there's always been like rowdiness and like say like a dark lit setting, like a bar or like just
Yeah.
something not nice. And then all the good ones, I'm walking barefoot in the forest or fucking on a beach or something like that. So,
You should try silent darkness laying on your back on your couch.
oh yeah,
With
well,
no
like,
no stimuli, absolutely no stimuli. Cut everything off. Try to go meditative. Lay on your back. Silent darkness.
float
That's
tank
the
kinda
ticket.
shit.
That's the fucking ticket.
Oh, I'd go deep in my head. I guess I could handle that. I'm not scared of my own head. Yeah, that's a good idea. I need wait for the wife and kids to leave for a night. Or
Yeah.
so. Just in case they come home and I'm laying on the couch, fucking way deep.
Yeah.
We
Listen,
said
honey,
you
I
ain't
need
gonna
to
see
take
me
a
do
day
it.
and go to the hotel.
Yeah, that's maybe a better idea.
Hey, maybe it might be a good day to book one of them like sensory experiences where they put you in that float tank and then they just completely shut you off from everything and then you're just floating in that salt water so you don't even feel like you're laying on anything. Maybe that'd be
Yeah.
a good time for that shit.
So I've done a float tank. I've done several float tank sessions without mushrooms, but I'd like to do that soon because there's a place in my city that does the float tank thing. But they try to assess you before you go in to make sure you're not on drugs. So I got to be real kind of sneaky about it.
Well,
Yeah.
don't do 7 grams before you walk in and be like, dude, my finger's really cool right now.
I kind of like that 1 gram dose area. 0.8 to 1 is where I feel at home, where I'm not, I'm not wigging out. But if it's a potent enough mushroom, it gets me in a state where I can, I've talked to shit on a gram of mushrooms. You go into it, you just meditate, shut everything off. Like I've talked to shit on a gram of mushrooms.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you get
it's
that.
I
And
don't like
that
doing them like in a social setting so much anymore because I don't drink anymore. So like it's weird when I go out to my old social spots because everyone's standing there with the drink in their hand and everything. It's like so when they do mushrooms, and I'm not buzzing on the alcohol and stuff like they are. It's just really weird, and I get mushroomy on mushrooms, like what I mean. I get open, and it kind of weirds people out that are like partiers, right? Because I'm hippie. I may look not like one, but when I eat mushrooms, I get pretty hippie-ish, man, and shit. I'll be crying and talking all weird, but it's good. I'm just like, everything's just going like this out of me, right? It's good,
right.
But people
what I
around me
think
are like,
psychedelics are?
What is wrong with that guy?
Like I feel like I used to be a big Coke guy, and this was a long time ago. And I feel like almost every other kind of drug except for psychedelics puts an impression on your body and it gives you a feeling. And I think that psychedelics work a little bit differently. So what I think LSD and mescaline and shrooms and I've got a lot of history with all those. I think what those things do is they enhance your nervous system to make you more receptive to things, which is why you have the visuals and why you have all these things. It makes you feel more. Mm-hmm. So when I'm on a dose of mushrooms and I lay on my back in darkness, I feel like I'm receiving data rather than feeling a feeling like what Coke or alcohol might do to you. And that's what I feel like it is. It's an enhancement of your nervous system. And maybe there's a part of your nervous system that decodes what our reality looks like or decodes what not what we see, but the other parts that we cannot see. That the enhancement in the nervous system makes you more receptive to seeing what that actually looks like. And that's what I think the job of psychedelics is just to enhance your nervous system to be more receptive.
Nice. Have you do you medicate with capsules or have you done lemon tech?
So I usually just pick a dose of fruits on it. So like I said, I have a specific strain from a specific grower that I've been buying for years. And I just take that in a certain dose because it's reliable every time. I could quantify what it's going to feel like. And then I eat those, and then that's how I do it. It's been a little while for me, but that's how I usually do it. Lemon taking is, I haven't done that because it's like, you can really kick up a dose like 3x if you're not careful.
So I was just, goddamn, I was thinking, fuck, I lost it.
Yeah, good. All right. So does it kick? All right. Does it intensify the effects, or does it just hit faster?
So I think that they go hand in hand. So what I think Lemon Tech does is it breaks down the psilocybin into psilocin to where it makes it more bioavailable for your body to read. So because it's faster for your body to intake, it doesn't last as long because it's being consumed faster, but it also makes it more intense because it's being consumed all at once. And so I think Lemon Tech makes it more intense for a shorter amount of time. And then if you're eating an actual fruit body, well, then your body's stomach acid has to do the work of breaking it down over a period of time. And so it doesn't happen all at once. And that's what I think that the science is. You know, I'm not the guy to ask, but I think that that's a pretty rudimentary understanding of what that actually does.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Even Hillbilly Herb in the comments, it hits faster, just wears off quicker.
Yeah, yep. I believe that that's the case. And because I think acid is what makes the psilocin more available from psilocybin. And so the reason that a fruit body takes longer is because it's being put in your stomach acid and it takes time to break down the actual biomaterial of the mushroom. But when you lemon tech it, it's pre-broken down before you take it in.
Where was this info in 96?
Hidden away in some obscure forum on fucking like ham or something.
You're right. Eating handfuls of stuff that tastes like shit too. I mean, wasn't nobody growing in cocoa in '96. I'll tell you that.
No,
yeah.
Mushrooms.
Yeah.
Now look at us, fucking astronauts.
Some of the best times, you know, as a blossoming young adult. Just, man, this guitar sounds so good. You checking this out? You hear this, man? Oh yeah. That's what
we're fucking coming up to the top of the hour, and that's about the time we shut them down. So, do you want to just go ahead, give everybody kind of a where to find you? I'll give us everything real quick.
Yeah. So, my name's Dan Rogers. If you didn't catch it in the beginning and you joined late, my website's microppose.com, MICROPPOSE.com. I kind of just make stuff for the mycological community. We just came out with autoclavable petri dishes and tubs, and you can find them there if you want them.
Dude, the tubs are autoclavable too?
Well, no, those don't need to be autoclavable. You can wash them.
Checking.
They're reusable, that's for sure.
Excellent. And I will make sure that the boss man makes sure that we get your link in the description of the show, so it'll be down there for everybody. And man, it's been great hanging out with you and talking with you. I really appreciate you coming and chatting with us. So
yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for reaching out. Like I was thrilled to do this. Thank you.
Hey, really appreciate you taking the time, man. Thank you for coming out here.
Not a problem, man.
And anytime you got anything cool going on, hit us up. We are more than happy to bring you on and talk about it too. We love talking mushrooms, grows, all that stuff. So
yeah, stay in touch. Instagram is where I'm the most visible. So you know, if you're on my email list and Instagram, that's probably the first touch points you'll have to me. But yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, we have a good solid community of Dans here. Welcome.
Yeah, I just saw that. There's several.
We have a lot of good Dans. And on that, man, I want to say thank you. Thank you, G-Bay, High and Tight, everybody out there. Caribou, I hope you're having a good time at the show. And everybody, I hope you have an amazing week. We'll catch you all on Friday. You guys got anything?
Hell no.
That's it, man.
That's it?
Let's get the fuck
out. We out.
and then I dug myself a hole.